Last time on the shop build, we got started on the road, trenched 220 feet of conduit to the shop for power, got the meter base installed, ran water to the shop, and got started on grading. And in this episode, we're going to finish up the road and the retaining walls, which will hold that road in place, finish the front parking area, finish up all the grading, and then for the people new to the channel, we're going to talk about everything that I've done to get the shop to this point and how much I've spent. Let's go.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get straight into it to not waste anybody's time. I've spent around $75,000 in total on everything related to the shop build. Now, if you're curious about where that money has gone and how we've got to this point, stay tuned and we'll get to it.
So about this time last year, we got started on building my 36 by 48 shop with 14-foot walls, and this was a total of $58,600. Now, this was the majority of the money spent for the project and included the posts, framing lumber, trusses, concrete, dirt work and site prep, the garage doors, there's 3 of them by the way, the man door, 4 windows, the insulation, the permitting, and of course, all of the labor. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an itemized breakdown of the cost since I did work with a small company who works on the good old boy system. They say they're gonna build you something, you give them the money, and they build it. And that's exactly the kind of builder that I wanted. So I was able to use ChatGPT to predict where this money could have went in order to attempt to give you some kind of itemized list. So take it with a grain of salt. I can tell by looking through this list already that some of these numbers are either exaggerated or just plain inaccurate. And I'm going to be using the higher estimate that it's made from each of these items. So for the posts, it's saying $2,200. There are around 14 or so posts throughout the whole shop, so I guess I could see how it could get to that price if you include a 6x6 treated post that is not being bought from a big box store. This is sourced elsewhere. I suppose it could have got to that price. The framing lumber, including the trusses, $10,000. The concrete, $9,500. This price I actually feel is kind of low because we are using 4-inch reinforced fiber concrete throughout the entire shop. This is a 1,700 square foot shop. And in one of the bays, we have the concrete thickened to about 8 to 10 inches for most of that bay in preparation for a 2-post lift. So I'm thinking the concrete is probably a little bit more than that. So you go ahead and redistribute amongst other things in the list to kind of figure out what the prices would have been. The labor, $15,000. The dirt work and the site prep, $6,000. The garage doors, once again, there are 3 of them. This includes the installation of the garage doors themselves, as well as the framing, the delivery, and everything else that's required, $4,500. The metal siding, which I forgot to mention earlier, but that is part of this price as well, $2,500. The insulation, $2,500. Which I know is an accurate number because I remember adding that to my build, and that's exactly how much they told me to add the fiberglass blanket insulation. The 4 windows, $3,000. The man door, it says $1,200. I really doubt that's correct. That seems like a very high estimate for installing a man door and framing it in, so probably much less than that. And then the permitting, which I'm very happy that I paid them to do instead of doing it myself because it would have been an absolute nightmare. $1,400. So that's where the $58,000 went. Overall, I think it's a really good price for a complete building that's essentially turnkey besides having power. And then it started raining and snowing, and I realized just how important gutters are, especially on a pole barn where you want to keep water away from it. The whole thing's made out of wood. You want water away. So I paid $1,250 for 5-inch aluminum gutters, downspouts at all 4 corners, extensions, and it's color matched to the shop. I could have done this DIY, but this was fast, it was easy, and this will last. So time will tell though if snow rips them off. Then it came time to coat my floor. With fresh concrete and nothing in the shop yet, I really wanted to at least try to protect it. And after getting several ridiculous quotes for epoxy, I decided to go with Ghost Shield, which was $1,659. Ghost Shield is a concrete densifier and sealer that doesn't change the appearance of the concrete like at all, but it resists water and repels most other fluids. So basically it's exactly what I needed in a working shop. There's gonna be engines on stands that are moved around. There will be oil that is spilled, sparks will be flying. I would hate for a $13,000 epoxy floor, and yeah, that's how much the people were quoting me for those floors. It's a lot of work to do it right. I would hate for that to start chipping and having issues. So maybe that'll be an option in the future, but for now, the Ghost Shield just made way more sense. And looking back, there's a lot of other sealers that are even cheaper that could have probably done a very good job. But anyway, the prep work was pretty simple. You just mop the floor and then you spray on the densifier, wait a couple days, and spray down the sealant. It did take a while for the sealant to completely penetrate since my concrete was already a very smooth finish, but afterwards I was left with a floor that was super easy to clean up and resists or repels most fluids. After I got the floors done, I got started on the lights because I really wanted to be able to work in my shop. I wanted to move in and start working on my Land Cruiser. Now, keep in mind, I still don't have power, so I'm running everything on extension cord power at this point. Now, these are the Hyperlight Hero 150 watt high bay LEDs, and I'm running 9 in my shop, which will provide over 189,000 lumens. I chose 9 based on some help I got from the company. If you give them your shop dimensions, they'll actually build you a lighting map, which I thought was pretty cool. And in my opinion, it provided more than enough light. I like the temperature of the light and thought it worked really well. Now, I did work with the company on these. I spent $515 after getting a couple of them for free, and I do have a discount code for these if you're interested. That brings us to the last month where I've been working with an excavating company to build a road to my shop, get some finished grading done around the shop, build a front parking area, and run 220 feet of 3-inch conduit underground, 3 feet deep to the shop. And that's not just me being crazy and overkill. That's a requirement from my power company because of the length and because of the frost depth that has to go down 3 feet. If you haven't checked recently, conduit is expensive, like $6 a foot expensive. So this is not, it was not cheap. And overall, turned out to be a huge job, as you can see in these clips. There were a lot of unexpected issues that popped up as well with the house and additional work that had to be done. And finally, that brings us to present day.
All right, guys, well, it has been quite a while since I've recorded anything for this project because I have been busy with work, going on trips for work, and the progress has continued for the retaining wall and the road and everything else. So let me flip the camera around, show you what's going on, show you some issues that we ran into and what the next steps are to get this wall going. So I guess let's go ahead and start at the entrance to the backyard here. You see the walking path on the left side here. We got this retaining wall installed and set perfectly parallel with this concrete pad. Even though it's offset, we pull the string line and it's parallel with the concrete pad. So we have the road kind of all designed going into the backyard, and then over here we have this more complex retaining wall that's going to be using this Ready Rock system. And this is where things start to get a little bit complicated, because if you remember in the last video, I pulled the deck out in this area, and we also had retaining wall right here and up there where that existing one is by the AC unit, and both of them were falling over. So when we started to excavate this area and pull out the old retaining wall, we found that they actually buried the house and buried a lot of the siding in the OSB, and everything was rotten. So you can see all that OSB right there is replaced, it's brand new. And where that slab is for the AC, that's how high the grade was, and it was buried basically up to this point. And the inside of the wall, that is an interior wall that goes down behind the slab. Everything in there, full of dirt. I found beer bottles inside the interior wall. I'll put pictures up right now so you guys can see everything that had to be done.
Oh man, it's hard to even look at these pictures again. It's just super annoying to just know that I had to go through this and fix all of this stuff. But basically what happened was when they were building this house, or maybe someone else did it, who knows, but whoever did it, they did it wrong. That I'll just keep it nice. Basically, they buried all of the siding, which is not painted in these pictures, all of the stuff that's not blue, they buried all of it under dirt. And you can see how much higher the grade was than the house if you look at the pad that the AC unit is sitting on, and look how rotten all of the OSB was. When I started to remove the OSB, there were dozens of spiders and all sorts of insects who were not happy that I was disturbing their perfect little home. And you know what? We've always had bugs in our basement, and now we know why. Because when I started cutting away the sheathing to replace it, I noticed that our walls were actually full of dirt. The insulation had withered away, and there were beer bottles in the walls. Now, to top it off, the sill plate completely disintegrated once I touched it, so my neighbor and I came up with a solution to fix this, where we replaced it and then basically used a 2x4 on top to marry the new sill plate to the existing sill plate. You can kind of see it in the picture. And luckily this is not a load-bearing wall. Then I sealed it all up, put house wrap over it, and reinstalled the siding. But what had to happen was I had to come up with a plan to modify this area to get the grade away from the house, because we can't just put all the dirt back. We'll have the same issue in a couple of years. And that unfortunately means that we have to move the AC and add additional work to the quote for the excavation, which I figured we should probably do since the crew is here already. And that is basically what happened with this whole entire area. All right, we'll go ahead and get back to the video now.
And now what we have to do is excavate basically all of this out, get everything lower, move the AC over there, and basically start from a position we didn't think we'd find ourselves in, and then start getting started on this wall. So we have the general footprint of the wall built right here. This third block that's on top we were just testing something out. We don't think that's actually gonna be there, but we're thinking it's gonna follow this radius, probably be stacked too high as it is, then use capstone blocks on the whole thing all the way across. And once this grade is pulled down, it won't be holding back so much fill. And as for the AC, the idea, if you can envision this, we're gonna have a row of these pavers right here. So imagine they come out like 6, 7 pavers, they stop right here. And they're down, you know, as far as they need to be. Say they're down 4 to 5 pavers to get it level with the concrete of the house. We're gonna move the AC on top of that pad and have all the rest of this grade lower than the house, so we don't have the same issue with the moisture and all that water damage. And once that is done, it'll be a lot easier to visualize how this road, or how this wall, I mean, is going to be set up. So until we get that moved and that other small retaining wall for the AC built and all this dirt out of the way, we got to put the brakes on the Ready Rock retaining wall right here. So we're getting the AC guy out here tonight to evacuate our system, move the AC. What is that, a condenser? I don't know, you guys can correct me if you want. The AC box has to go on the side of the house, and we got to build this wall. And once that's done, we can continue the project. Just a lot of unexpected setbacks, but that kind of thing is common with these projects. It's just, we kind of feel like we can't catch a break with the house. It's one issue after another issue after another issue, and it just keeps on happening. But I guess the more we repair on the house, hopefully you would imagine you're pushing the needle into the positive, right? So we're gonna get to a point eventually where things are fixed, and then we can get back in the shop and work on that Land Cruiser, because my gears did finally show up from Nitro, so I really want to get my gears and lockers installed, but I gotta put my focus into this project to get the power in the shop, to get the road to the shop, to get everything that we need in order to continue building cool projects. Well, it's the next day, just got off work. As you can see, they got a lot more of the wall built. This will all start coming together once we start putting all the backfill back in. That's my neighbor Bella over there. This is gonna start to look a lot different once, of course, all the dirt's in. The back of this block will get chopped off, so the dirt will come right up to that. But the most important thing is that the AC is moved. So what you'll remember is this was at that same height. So right there, but it was over here on the house. So all the dirt was piled up against the siding and it caused all the issues. So I got all the siding replaced once I got off work today. Or not the siding, the sheathing. So I got to put new siding on that. And then I got started on digging the trench for the retaining wall that I need to build here. So my wife is picking up some sand in the back of the Ford. Gonna use that as a leveling base here and then start setting down that retaining wall, which will basically just form an L around the AC, and then the rest of this will all get filled in and we'll start finishing up the road to the shop.
All right, so at this point, the total shop cost is around $62,000, not including all of this excavation work. The amount that I'm about to talk about is highly variable on your property, the distance to your shop from your power pole or the distance to your shop from your house, if you need a road, if you have issues with your house. There's just lots of variables here. Some people may get away with running power to their shop for $5,000, but I'm unfortunately not in that boat. The total cost of all of this work I'm having done was $18,400, bringing my total cost, again, totally dependent on your situation, to $80,400. So shop itself with the coating of the floors with the lights, not including power, $62,000. The cost including all of this work that I'm having done now, $80,400. So running through the list of things we had done. First, we had to remove a bunch of arborvitae in order to even start making this road, and that was $500. Digging the 220-foot electrical trench was $700. The conduit was $2,700, and that might seem expensive, but conduit is expensive, and that price includes installation, backfill, and compaction. The retaining wall install on the east side of the yard was $5,100. That's the price and labor for those big blocks on the side of the yard that we don't see. The 220-foot road was $3,500. Grading around the shop was $500. Hauling off all of the mess, including the deck that I tore out, was $900. Running water to the shop in the trench before we backfilled was $225. Removing the existing retaining walls, which led to the discovery of the nightmare by the AC unit, was $900. A little bit of a slap in the face to pay for a nightmare that we found, but hey, that's great that we found it because now it's all fixed. And then there were just random change orders, which I won't bore you with, and those were $1,000. And finally, installing the retaining wall which faces the house, the nice one, was $2,375.
So what's next for the shop? Well, we're in here right now, and as you can see, it works. I'm in here, I'm working on my Land Cruiser's gears and lockers, and we're able to get stuff done in here, but we still don't have power. So we are running off extension cord power still. There's some things that are, of course, pretty annoying not having power. So that's definitely next on my to-do list. And if you take a look around, all of this interior, I want to get more framing done, and I want to get interior walls in here. So I'm thinking OSB sheathing, maybe paint it, do like metal on the top or the bottom 8 feet. Who knows? I have lots of ideas. I want to run conduit on the outside of the wall so it's easy to access and easy to modify in the future. And I want to get a sink in here. If you don't stop me now, I'll just keep on rambling off tons and tons and tons of things I want to do. So there's lots of videos to come. Stay tuned. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.